couldn't explain it, but there it was, alive in the deep, deep waters of the Amazon. A throwback to a creature that had existed 100 million years ago, immensely strong and destructive. A woman's beauty, the bait that brought it out of its lair. See underwater thrills never photographed before. See Titanic underwater battles never dreamed of before in this most terrifying of the science fiction adventures.
Hello, welcome to Movie Umpers. My name is Bob Sham.
My name is Angela.
The sounds you hear may be dogs, and it is Halloween Hump Fest, second annual. Every weekday we talk about a different horror movie discussion, and each day has its own special theme. On Mondays, for our classic selections, which are not our only classic selections, but every Monday is Universal Monster Monday. We're going to discuss today a Universal monster that is probably the coolest looking one. If you compare them all, you got Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein, The Bride, The Invisible Man. I love the look of the Invisible Man, especially when he's not wearing clothes.
Those glasses are nice.
And a lot of our Universal monsters, they span, I think our discussions will be spanning from a 20-year period or 31 to 54. And this is our latest era Universal monster. We're discussing The Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954, directed by Jack Arnold, who directed a lot of the old horror, old sci-fi stuff back in the day. It is written by Harry Essex, Arthur Ross, based on a story by Maurice Zim, starring Richard Carlson, Julie Adams, Richard Denning, Antonio Moreno, among others. Riku Browning and Ben Chapman play what they call the Gill-Man. Riku Browning was the Gill-Man when he's swimming, and Ben Chapman was the Gill-Man as he's walking. He looks so stiff when he wasn't in the water that you're kind of amazed he could. I guess a fish would be a little awkward out of the water, but he's supposed to be an amphibian, right?
The way he breathes, and you pointed this out at one point, and then I could not stop obsessing over it, when he's out of the water is so good.
Yeah, he's gasping like a fish, even though he wouldn't.
And you can see his people tongue, but the teeth are good. You can't see any teeth. It's really cool.
The whole look of the creature is cool. Cinematography here by William E. Snyder. And The Creature from the Black Lagoon, a very simple story here. I think the interesting thing about this one is that the creature is the protagonist. And I never swayed from that thought for 1 second. Well, maybe a little bit of a second, because it seems like the people that the creature mostly kill are like the indigenous. You got some people that are representing, they're in the Amazon, right? So you got people that are representing tribes, indigenous tribes, and then you got like the more so-called civilized Brazilians that are like captaining the ship or whatever. But this creature, he ends up killing the indigenous people and a couple of the sailors.
Which I would still argue is not on the creature. It's on our white folks on that boat who keep leaving those people alone. Because they make a comment at one time, the girl's going to go lay down during the height of it, and he says, no, stay with us, you'll be safer. Y'all are in a little group, bopping around everywhere together, but they keep leaving these other guys alone or in pairs to get attacked.
Well, it seems like at least the indigenous people would just take off. Like, they should know everything within their own culture about this thing, right?
The man who is the captain does say that there has been a legend about the Black Lagoon and that no one who goes there ever comes back.
And it is very loosely based on actual indigenous legends of half man, half fish creatures.
Sure.
But they find like a claw or something, like a big one.
Fossilized.
It's fossilized. So, and that they find it in this area, and then they all go back with the crew. That seems to be a lot of people for this size of a boat. But yes, it is, locals are manning the ship while you got Dr. David Reed. Kay Lawrence is played by Julia Anderson, and Mark Williams are playing. And there's a doctor who's on board as well. And they are like the white people that are swimming a lot, and they're here to get the evidence for the sake of archaeology, history, evolution, whatever.
But the money guy is the one who decides he wants to get this creature as a trophy.
We're far from alone in looking at the Gill-Man creature in a sympathetic way. It seemed like that movie Guillermo del Toro made that we haven't seen.
I kept thinking about that.
Is based upon that type of thing. I think he wanted to remake this movie and ended up making, what was it called? The Shape of Water. That shit won Best Picture, which might be the biggest sign that it probably is not as good as they said it was.
I have always been interested in seeing it. I did once on a plane watch the sex scene between her and the Gill-Man that someone else was watching across the aisle on an airplane. So I've seen that part. Or the kissy part.
How distinct was it?
I don't remember it being raunchy, and it might not have been a true sex scene, but they were definitely kissing and touching, and it was like a tender moment. I love that actress also that's in that movie, so I'm down to watch it whenever. We just haven't gotten around to it. But I couldn't stop thinking about it because there is a very sexy scene where the girl goes swimming in the lagoon and he is enamored with her to the point where he's swimming about 5 feet under her, keeping time with her. When she rolls over, he rolls over. It's very much like they're dancing.
Funny because a lot of the land scenes where these two guys are a little jealous of each other as well regarding their relationship with the Kay Lawrence character. And a lot of the stuff on the surface is a little drag-ass, a little dull. But when the movie goes underwater, yeah, and you do start to see the Gill-Man following her path. It was a different lady that was actually in the swim scenes. But they're following her path and and you see the Gill-Man reach out.
But he's not grabbing her. He just wants to make contact.
He doesn't. He wants to kill everyone but her.
I wanted more of a kidnap her and try to keep her moment. More of a King Kong, I'm going to climb on top of this thing and you can't have my woman back moment. We didn't quite get that, but he does try to take her away.
But it is great when she's paddling along, swimming along the surface of the water, and you see the Gill-Man. And the most impressive aspects of this movie, and they did have special equipment for the underwater scenes, and a lot of B-roll of areas of Florida as well. It obviously looks like Florida, but it's supposed to be the Amazon, right? The guy who's the Gill-Man when he's swimming is this guy named Rico Browning, and these are the most impressive parts of the movie. Watching this guy wearing this outfit swim around, doing so very well. He apparently had to hold his breath for upwards of 4 minutes at a time. And as much as you can cut around certain parts, there are parts where like he's thrashing and he's fighting the men underwater. Like these are actually quite impressively done here.
Yeah, I did notice a couple times where bubbles came from him because I was really looking because I was trying to figure out if they did have some way for him to breathe.
They didn't.
Insane.
I was watching for bubbles too, and I think most of the bubbles that you would see on him are just from him moving around. But when he's following her along as she's swimming the surface, no bubbles are coming out.
No.
He is holding his breath that whole time. It is so impressive.
He's amazing. Also handsome. You've got his picture pulled up?
Yeah, he is pretty handsome.
The fact that we didn't see his face, he's more handsome than the men that we got.
Than either of the leads.
And he can swim like that? Come on.
And the other guy, Ben Chapman, playing Gill-Man, he looks much more stiff when he's on the surface. But a lot of his scenes were shot in a California backlot, and it was very hot in this rubber fucking suit, and he's constantly requesting to be hosed down. Like 12 plus hours in this suit, in the California sun, in a fucking backlot. They're having to spray him with water constantly just so he doesn't pass the fuck out. He can't see very well in this. He looks very stiff when he's actually on land. And at one point, he's carrying Julia Adams around and he bumps her head on like, because he can't see what's going on. These men were very uncomfortable. One's having to wear a mask while he's swimming, and he was a great swimmer. And the other one is just like in 100-degree heat, having to be hosed off for 12 straight hours. And when you think about how they made it in that way, it does make the movie a lot more impressive.
The suit looks better under the water. Makes sense.
The suit the underwater design seems a little more streamlined, whereas there's a lot more details when you see him on the surface.
Yes, which also makes sense. On the surface, the guy's a little bigger, or seems to be a little bigger.
Like it, yeah.
And you made the comment that the guy on land has to be strong, because they do have him lifting things, pulling things, carrying her around, and also carrying that suit, which has to be heavy. Part of why it was so difficult was because of how well it was made, because it's so sleek to their body. If it had been bulkier, it would not have looked good. The only frame of reference I have for this, of having ever heard anyone talk about this, is there are these entire bodysuits that drag queens will get sometimes that are made out of latex, and it goes from ankles to neck, arms and everything, or it'll be like cut out your armpit, but it's got boobs and a butt and thighs and everything. And you can only stay in them for a certain period of time, because also something else happens where you need water, but you can't sweat properly in there.
Yeah, it just becomes a swamp.
Yeah, it's a mess. And don't even try to go to the bathroom. He probably pissed on himself.
12 hours? Yeah, totally. They maybe had a funnel bag job.
Maybe.
Oh, you know that suit fucking stunk at the end of these shoots, you know? One doctor is a bit more of like a preserve things, and the other doctor is like, we should kill him. And they finally see the creature under the water, and they have a back and forth regarding what to do with it.
Why'd you shoot? You weren't attacked. You sound as though I'd put the harpoon through you. What makes you think we're supposed to play tag with the thing, whatever it is? I tell you, we can learn more from it if it's alive.
Please, what is it you found?
I don't know what you'd call it. It sounds incredible, but it appeared to be human. I tell you, if it's what I think I saw, it's the greatest find yet. Nothing compares to it.
And one guy is basically just wants to get the fuck out of the Black Lagoon and come back with like a more equipped team that can maybe capture this thing alive.
I liked the way they explained why they went to the lagoon from the finding of the fossil. He went and got these folks who are more marine folks. It's just who he knew to do this exhibition. So they're going and they dig for like 8 days in the side of this wall and they can't find anything else. And then they realize, oh, this stream or river that's right here dumps out into this lagoon. So maybe there's fossils in the lagoon. And that part where they first go down and don't know he's there is really cool to me, because they have this huge underwater camera and they're trying to pick up these rocks and stuff, and he's kind of spying on them.
Again, these people are encroaching on the Gill-Man's natural habitat. So even if he is killing the indigenous guys, that's why you don't work with white people, all right? Because the Gill-Man will kill your ass. So the Gill-Man is the protagonist. He is the hero. And we hope he gets the girl. But I guess if you want to watch Gill-Man human fucking, you watch that.
Shape of Water.
Yeah, Shape of Water. But here it's all foreplay. When one of the men first see him, he instantly shoots him. This Gill-Man takes shots from a harpoon gun. He might have like a low-end healing factor too. Or his scales are very... there's some implication that he's pretty armored. If he could take a couple of harpoon shots to the back and gut, then he's pretty well armored up. They want to leave the lagoon, and they find that the Gill-Man, after the Gill-Man like disfigures the doctor, and they discover that the Gill-Man has dammed up the exit from the lagoon. So it's a big dramatic thing where they have to tie a rope around it so the ship will pull the dam apart. But they're also dosing the Gill-Man in the water with some kind of drug that's supposed to make him loopy. And they're also, at one point, when the Gill-Man kills one of the main dudes, I cheered. And it looked pretty great when the dude died. He just starts floating up slowly. The underwater stuff is like all the revolutionary parts of this movie, right? Also, this movie was originally presented in 3D. It's like big theaters were showing it in 3D, and there have been home video releases in 3D over the years, but Nowadays, we just see the two-dimensional flat version.
The harpoon already looked cool underwater.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
The Gill-Man gladly kills one of the men. We all cheer. And they do manage to break the dam apart, but the Gill-Man, all drugged up from the Mickeys they're slipping in the water, he manages to get on the boat one more time because he's just so desperate to get that human puss, and that's when the rest of the ship crew just light him up, and the Gill-Man starts to swim off after being shot up, and it like maybe he survived it, but then you just see the Gill-Man floating, implying that he might be dead, but also it seems like there might be enough in there to do some sequels, and sure enough, there are a couple of
Because he doesn't come up, right? He like sinks down to the bottom.
Yeah,
So he could regenerate.
They also managed to capture him at some point with the Mickey in the water trick, but he just very easily, I guess once he sobers up, just breaks out, and
He's way strong.
and that's where he maims the doctor. It's too bad he didn't straight kill the doctor. He should have put him out of his misery because he looked miserable, all bandaged up there. It's the underwater shit that you hang your hat on. It looks great. It looks good. The shots are lined up well. It's very impressive. And everything else just feels like a typical B sci-fi horror on the surface. But then when you get into the water shots and the actors and the stunt people and how they're making it work, you see where the work is, where the skill is. And it is something to behold. It looks really good. Let's go ahead and rate it, huh? You're going to give this 1 through 5. I'm going to give 1 through 5 combined for best out of 10. The Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954. It definitely goes above mid because of all the great underwater stuff. But story-wise, it's a little simplistic, a little dumbed down. But it does seem to leave a lot open for compassion towards this creature, for interpretations down the road that we now know that the Academy has given Best Picture to. But I'm going to give it a 3.25.
I'm going to give it a 3.
All right, folks, take a look at a 6.25 Creature from the Black Lagoon by Jack Arnold from 1954. Thanks to its technical execution, keeps its head above water and manages to eke out a B score from us. It rests between the movies Borderline by Kenneth McPherson. That's the Paul Robeson movie from Kenneth McPherson. And above It Lives Again, the sequel to It's Alive by Larry Cohen from 1978. Creature from the Black Lagoon is at least as good as those movies, if not better. Yeah, if it wasn't for all the great underwater stuff and the cool feats by the actors and stuff and the stuntmen, this would be a very down the road, middle of the road movie. But
yes,
but yeah,
it was only an hour and 20 long.
It did seem to drag. It really did. But
yeah.
That's why it didn't break like a 7 or anything. But yes, there's still good stuff to behold. More horror drops 5 days a week. And Mondays, we'll be back next Monday with another Universal Monster feature. Until then, like, subscribe, check the show notes for links, other places to find us. Leave a comment, tell us what you think of Creature from the Black Lagoon. They did churn out some sequels. Let us know who your favorite Universal Monster is. The creature, the Gill-Man, just from his look, is really up there. All right, but
Justice for the Gill-Man.